The sky had been clear just hours before, but now dark clouds loomed over the ocean like an unstoppable force. The waves, once calm and peaceful, had transformed into monstrous walls of water, crashing violently against the luxurious yacht. Donald Trump, dressed in one of his finest suits, stood on the deck, gripping the railing as the storm raged around him. "This is the worst storm, the worst. Believe me," he muttered under his breath, trying to maintain his balance. The yacht had the latest technology, the best crew, the most expensive materials. It was supposed to be unsinkable. But nature didn't care about wealth or power. The sea had its own rules. A deafening crack echoed through the storm as a massive wave slammed into the side of the yacht. The vessel lurched violently, sending furniture, glass, and anything not bolted down flying across the deck. Crew members screamed as they struggled to maintain control, but it was useless. The ship was going down. "Unbelievable. Totally unfair," Trump muttered, just before the next wave engulfed the yacht completely. Everything went black. Trump woke up to the sound of waves gently lapping against the shore. His head was pounding, his suit was soaked, and his famous hairstyle was now a wet, tangled mess. Slowly, he pushed himself up from the sand, coughing up salt water. The sun was blinding, the heat already unbearable. He looked around. Nothing. No yacht, no crew, no cameras, no social media, just endless ocean behind him and dense jungle ahead. Terrible situation. Just terrible. He checked his pockets. No phone, no wallet, no gold-plated anything. For the first time in his life, Donald Trump was truly alone. His stomach growled, his mouth was dry. He had never felt this helpless before. That's when he heard it, a rustling sound coming from the jungle. Something was watching him. Trump tensed. A wild animal? A threat? A disaster? And then, out of the bushes, stepped a dog. Donald Trump stood frozen, eyeing the creature that had emerged from the jungle. A dog. Not just any dog. It looked strong, rugged, with a golden brown coat covered in dust and leaves. Its eyes, sharp and intelligent, studied him with caution. Trump adjusted his soaked suit and ran a hand through his messy hair, sighing. A dog, of all things. I get stranded on a deserted island, and the first thing I see is a dog. Not great, not great at all. The dog took a few cautious steps forward, sniffing the air. Trump instinctively took a step back. "Listen, buddy, I don't have any steak. No Trump Tower buffet here. Just me, the best survivor you've ever seen, believe me." The dog tilted its head, ears twitching. Then, without warning, it turned and began trotting away toward the jungle. Trump squinted, watching it go. Then his stomach growled again, loudly. "Okay, fine. You probably know where food is, let's go." With that, he followed the dog into the unknown. Surviving Trump style. The jungle was hot, humid, and full of noises Trump did not like. Birds screeched, insects buzzed, and every step he took was met with squelching mud or snapping twigs. The dog moved effortlessly through the terrain, occasionally stopping to check if Trump was keeping up. This is like walking through a bad real estate deal. You think it's good at first, and then it turns into a disaster. After what felt like an eternity, the dog suddenly stopped and began digging near a patch of tall grass. Curious, Trump crouched down, wiping sweat from his forehead. "What are you—" Then he saw it, water. A small, shallow spring bubbled up from the earth, clear, cool, and drinkable. Trump stared at it in disbelief. "You found water? Incredible. You're a genius, a total winner." Without hesitation, he scooped some into his hands and drank. It was the best thing he had ever tasted. The dog sat down beside him, wagging its tail. For the first time since waking up on the beach, Trump allowed himself to smile. "All right, dog. Looks like we're in this together." He reached out and gave the dog a quick pat on the head. The dog didn't flinch. It simply watched him, as if silently judging. Trump stood up, feeling a renewed sense of confidence. "Now, let's find some food. I don't do starvation." The dog barked once, as if agreeing, and together, They disappeared deeper into the jungle. The jungle was alive. Every sound seemed magnified: the rustling of leaves, the distant screeches of birds, the buzzing of unseen insects. Donald Trump trudged forward, his suit now torn and soaked in sweat. The dog, his only companion, moved ahead with effortless agility, pausing now and then to make sure he was still following. Terrible humidity, just awful, worse than a debate stage, Trump muttered, wiping his forehead. His stomach growled again, a deep, painful reminder that he hadn't eaten since. When? A full-course meal at Mar-a-Lago? It felt like a lifetime ago. The dog suddenly froze, ears perked. Trump stopped, holding his breath. Then, movement in the bushes. A wild boar burst through the undergrowth, snorting aggressively. Its dark eyes locked onto Trump, and for a split second, neither moved. Okay, no need to panic. It's just a pig. I've seen worse opponents. The boar charged. Okay, panic now. Trump turned to run, but before he could react, the dog lunged. With surprising speed, the dog leapt toward the boar, barking ferociously. The boar hesitated, startled by the sudden attack. The dog snapped at its legs, darting around it, keeping the creature distracted. Trump, thinking fast, grabbed the stoutest branch he could find. It wasn't a golf club, but it would have to do. All right, you wild disaster. Time for a little, "You're fired." With all his strength, he swung the branch at the boar's side. It connected with a loud thud. The animal squealed, staggered, and after a moment of hesitation, bolted back into the jungle. Silence. Trump stood there, panting, hands on his knees. The dog trotted up to him, tail wagging as if saying, "Not bad, rookie." Trump looked at his unlikely savior and smirked. "You really are a winner. Huge. The best dog, believe me." The dog barked once, proudly. A new strategy. The excitement quickly faded as reality set in. They needed food, and fast. The boar was gone, but now Trump had an idea. He looked around, scanning the jungle. Coconuts, bananas. Things were growing here. He just had to find the right ones. All right, survival mode activated. The dog led the way again, and soon Trump found himself standing beneath a coconut tree. "Great, coconut, full of nutrients. I know all about coconuts." He stared at the towering tree. "But how do you get one down?" the dog barked. Trump pointed at the tree. "What? You expect me to climb?" The dog just stared. Trump sighed. "Fine, but if I fall, this is fake news." He removed his suit jacket, rolled up his sleeves, and began climbing. It was slow, painful, and not at all presidential. His hands slipped, his arms burned, and at one point, he nearly lost his grip entirely. Who knew survival was this much work? After what felt like hours, but was probably minutes, he reached out and knocked a coconut loose. It tumbled down, landing with a heavy thump. Success! A very big success. Sliding back down, Trump grabbed the coconut and turned to the dog. "Now we just have to open it." The dog wagged its tail, watching as Trump spent the next 15 minutes smashing the coconut against a rock. Finally, it cracked open. Trump eagerly scooped out the water inside, gulping it down like it was the finest Trump-branded mineral water. Refreshed, re-energized, he sat back in the sand. The dog lay down beside him, satisfied. For the first time since arriving, Trump didn't feel completely hopeless. "All right, dog, you and me, we're gonna make this island great again." The dog barked. And just like that, their survival story truly began. Days had passed. Donald Trump and the dog had formed an unlikely but effective survival team. They had found fresh water, gathered food, and even built a makeshift shelter from palm leaves and driftwood. It wasn't Trump Tower, but it kept the rain off his head, and that was a win. Not bad at all. Probably the best survival camp on any deserted island. If there were ratings, this would be number 1. The dog barked in approval. But one major problem remained: getting off this island. Trump sat on a rocky ledge overlooking the ocean, the dog by his side. He watched the waves rolling endlessly, the horizon taunting him with the promise of civilization. "All right, time for a plan. You always need a plan. Nobody escapes islands better than me. The first attempt, disaster. Trump had gathered bamboo poles, vines, and palm leaves, everything he needed for a raft. The dog watched skeptically as Trump stacked the bamboo together and tied it with vines. This is going to be a tremendous raft. Strong, reliable. People are going to say, wow, that's the best raft we've ever seen. Finally, after hours of work, the raft was ready. With great ceremony, Trump pushed it into the water. It floated. See? I told you, the best. Then the first wave hit. Crack. The vines snapped instantly, and the bamboo poles fell apart, drifting away into the sea. Trump stared. The dog tilted its head. Okay, not great. But you know what? We learned something. Learning is important. The dog sighed, or at least it looked like it did. A new strategy. Trump paced back and forth, thinking, okay, what do we really need? A signal. A tremendous, big, hard-to-miss signal. That's when he got an idea. Using rocks, palm leaves, and driftwood, Trump and the dog built a massive SOS sign on the beach, so big it could be seen from the sky. Then they needed fire, a huge one. They gathered dry wood, leaves, anything that would burn. This fire's gonna be so big, it'll be the best fire. They'll see it from space. With some effort, and a little frustration, Trump finally got a spark. The fire roared to life, smoke rising high into the sky. Now all they could do was wait. Trump sat next to the dog, watching the flames. We did good, pal. Now we just need the right people to see this. And believe me, when they do, we're getting out of here in style. The dog wagged its tail. Then, far in the distance, a low rumbling sound. A plane. Trump's eyes widened. He jumped up, waving his arms. Hey, we're down here. Biggest survivors you've ever seen. The dog barked. The fire blazed. The plane tilted slightly, as if it had seen them. Was this it? Were they finally going home? Trump paced back and forth, thinking, okay, what do we really need? A signal. A tremendous, big, hard-to-miss signal. That's when he got an idea. Using rocks, palm leaves, and driftwood, Trump and the dog built a massive SOS sign on the beach, so big it could be seen from the sky. Then they needed fire, a huge one. They gathered dry wood, leaves, anything that would burn. This fire's gonna be so big, it'll be the best fire. They'll see it from space. With some effort, and a little frustration, Trump finally got a spark. The fire roared to life, smoke rising high into the sky. Now all they could do was wait. Trump sat next to the dog, watching the flames. We did good, pal. Now we just need the right people to see this. And believe me, when they do, we're getting out of here in style. The dog wagged its tail. Then, far in the distance, a low rumbling sound. A plane. Trump's eyes widened. He jumped up, waving his arms. Hey, we're down here. Biggest survivors you've ever seen. The dog barked. The fire blazed. The plane tilted slightly, as if it had seen them. Was this it? Were they finally going home?